Big life changes are supposed to bring clarity. That's what we're told anyway, till 2 a.m. when the mind decides that the open loops of the process are no longer tolerable. In that quiet darkness, staring at the ceiling, thoughts are circling. Did I miss something? Is there one detail that will derail everything? And with no new information coming in, the brain keeps working, trying to finish what isn't finished yet. And let that just settle for a moment. Because if that sounds at all familiar, you're not being weak. You're living inside an unfinished process. And unfinished processes can get loud. And when this aha moment hit me, we hadn't even left yet. The move was planned. The timeline was taking shape. The paperwork had been submitted. And then we were in the waiting, which turns out to be one of the most dysregulating parts of starting over. And nobody really ever talks about that. They talk about their brave decision or the beautiful arrival. But they don't talk about the middle, the somewhat messy middle, where the systems are processing and you are not the one in control of the speed. And if you've lived through trauma, burnout, and long seasons of survival, your nervous system is already very good at scanning. It'll scan for threats, for gaps, for what might go wrong. And it builds safety systems. It anticipates. And that scanning helped you survive. And it makes sense that when you choose to do something big, like moving abroad, something expansive, that scanning intensifies because expansion once meant risk. So your brain starts trying to close every loop immediately to mitigate the risk, finish the puzzle, solve the bureaucracy, force that square peg into that round hole because uncertainty feels intolerable. It feels unsafe. But courage isn't forcing that peg. Courage isn't white-knuckling your way through a timeline that you have no control over. Courage with regulation looks different. It looks like making the plan carefully, submitting the work completely, saving those receipts, calling the attorney, double-checking the dates, and then breathing while the system works. It's recognizing what's yours to execute and what is not yours to force. Because there's a difference between effort and control. And sometimes in the messy middle, safety doesn't come from finishing faster. It comes from trusting your preparation. This is where resourcefulness shows up. Not hustle, not panic research in the middle of the night, not second guessing your decisions. Resourcefulness is saying, I've done what I can do today. It's organized documents in a folder. It's a checklist that actually had a few things checked off. It's asking questions before you need answers. It's building safety systems and then letting them take hold. But for those of us who've had to build our own safety systems throughout life, that trust part can feel almost impossible because if we're not actively solving, we feel exposed. But sometimes the most regulated move is to stop solving. And I'm curious, if this is landing for you, if your brain has been trying to solve something that isn't solvable yet, or isn't even yours to solve, Let me know in the comments. I do read every one of them. Now, Ralph, on the other hand, has solved exactly one problem. When I let him know that we were moving to the world capital of cheese, he decided that he needed to initiate a pre-departure sampling program just to be fully prepared. And I can confirm that program will undoubtedly continue once the arrival stage is fully upon us. He has no anxiety about international bureaucracy and paperwork. He does have strong opinions, however, about creamy brie. And every time I open the refrigerator, he appears calm and hopeful, certain that the system will provide. He pays attention to what's in front of him, not what might happen in 6 months, not what happened yesterday, just what's in front of him in the moment. And I do find myself thinking that that might be the most advanced nervous system skill in this house. Now, starting over doesn't happen in isolation. It's not just one change, it's layered. There are identity shifts, role shifts, threads of grief, excitement, and fear, and they all arrive together. And when the honeymoon energy fades, because it always will, what's left, once again, is a space in the middle. Another round of uncomfortable, unfinished, and it's sometimes a very frustrating middle. And that's where resilience gets tested. Not in a bold announcement, not in the waiting, not in the email that hasn't come yet, in the document that's still under review, in the silence because no one's responding. Resilience is not railing against the system, and it's certainly not collapsing into hopelessness either. It's staying present when the process unfolds at the speed that it's going to unfold. So when your 2 a.m. brain says, maybe we missed something, it might not need a new spreadsheet. It might just need reassurance. We prepared, we executed, and we are allowed to wait. That's regulation. Regulation doesn't remove uncertainty. It makes uncertainty survivable. There's a particular discomfort that shows up here. It's the feeling that if we aren't actively pushing, everything will fall apart. And if we're not jamming that peg harder, the hole will never widen. But systems, especially famously bureaucratic ones, do not respond to emotional pressure. They respond to process. And once the process is in motion, our work shifts from doing to tolerating, from fixing to allowing. That's a different kind of strength. This is the quiet backbone of starting over. Being resourceful enough to prepare, being resilient enough to stay in the middle, and being regulated enough not to destroy our own peace while we wait. Not perfectly, just enough. And if you're in a season where something is pending, a move, a retirement, a decision, a hard conversation, you might ask yourself, have I done what is mine to do? And if the answer is yes, what would it feel like to rest in that, even briefly? At some point, we are going to be in France. When you're watching this, we will undoubtedly already be there. The suitcases and boxes will have made it, and I'm hoping they will mostly be intact. And here's what will be the surprising part of it. The feeling of being in the middle won't end when we arrive. It will just change shape. And that's okay. Being in the middle, it's not a mistake. It is a fundamental part of reinvention. And Ralph will still remain committed to his international cheese relations because some systems are functioning and will always function exactly as expected. And I will continue to practice breathing while the process unfolds, because this process will keep unfolding, and we're still going to take this one regulated step at a time. And if you're in your own messy middle, you're not alone here. We can sit in it together. And if you feel like paying the cheese tax, you can drop a good boy into the comments. Ralph fully supports that decision, and we're glad you're here. À la prochaine fois, mes amis. À bientôt.